I want to talk to you about something that almost nobody talks about. Not in those coaching rooms or the leadership retreats, and not in those conversations that women have over coffee or on the WhatsApp chat. The financial stress that leaves behind that polished exterior, that credit card that's closer to the limit that no one knows about, and that family member whose rent you are quietly covering. The loan that is manageable, but only just as long as nothing else changes. The lifestyle that looks successful from the outside, and it costs you your sleep from the inside. If any of that felt familiar, then this episode is for you. And today we're talking about that hidden source of burnout number 6. The one that mostly hidden, the one that carries the most shame, the financial stress that nobody knows about. So welcome. If you're joining us for the first time, I'm Dr. Catherine Muyeba. I'm the consultant psychiatrist and coach for high-achieving women. In this series, we've been uncovering the hidden sources of burnout that professional women are rarely talking about. We've moved from addiction in the home, relational drain. We've looked at the strong one pattern, the normalized mental health, and diagnosed ADHD, spiritual drought, and each one a layer, each one real. And today we reach the one that sits beneath the others, quiet, heavy, and almost always carried alone. So what does financial stress actually do? Let me start by being clear about what I'm doing here. I'm not a financial advisor. I am a psychiatrist. And what I want to talk about is not your balance sheet. It is what the financial stress does to your nervous system, to your decision making, to your relationships, and to your sense of self. Because chronic financial anxiety is the kind that is hidden and unspoken about. It's the one that's most corrosive forms of stress the brain can carry. And it's always on. It never switches off. It sits underneath every meeting, every social occasion, every family gathering, every purchase, every conversation about the future. And because it is hidden, it has no release valve. You cannot process what you cannot name, and you cannot get support for something nobody knows about. The result is a woman who is performing at a high level professionally, managing her image carefully, and running an internal crisis management operation that nobody around her can see. That is an enormous amount of energy to spend before the working day even begins. Let me tell you about someone I'll call Dorica. Details have been changed to protect her privacy. Dorica was a 46-year-old senior pharmacist in the community, well-dressed, articulate, highly regarded. And her colleagues would have described her as someone who had it all together. She came to me initially for what she described as work stress. And Dorica is the eldest daughter in a large family, and since her late 20s, she has been the one the family turned to. Her mother's household bills, her younger brother's rent when he lost his job, school fees for her brother's children after his wife walked out on them, leaving all the 4 children with him, and her sister's recurrent gambling debt. None of these had been asked for explicitly. It had simply become understood that Dorica earns well, Dorica provides. Meanwhile, Dorica had her own debt. Credit cards she had used to maintain the lifestyle that made her look like someone who could absorb everyone else's needs. A car on finance, a flat in a postcode that matched her title. She described her financial life as a house of cards. Everything is standing, but I daren't touch anything, she said. So the mental load of managing all this, of knowing exactly how much was in her every account, and of calculating whether she could say yes to every request, and of maintaining that appearance that everything was fine, was running her cognitive and emotional reserves completely dry. She wasn't burning out because of her job, no. She was burning out because of everything her job had to fund and the silence around it. And do you recognize any of these patterns? Do you recognize anything at all? I want you to name some patterns, not to expose any one of them, but because naming breaks the isolation. You are the financial backbone of people beyond your immediate household. And that is rarely acknowledged, rarely thanked, and never factored into how people access your capacity. And you have debt that you are managing, but only just. And the fear of it tipping over is a constant low hum beneath everything else that you do. You have said yes to financial commitment you couldn't even afford, because the cost of saying no to relationships, to image, to family expectations, that felt higher than the cost of the debt. And you experience what I call financial performance. Spending in ways to maintain the appearance of success, even when privately the picture is more fragile. You feel shame, deep private shame, not because you have done anything wrong, no, but because the gap between how you appear and how things are feels like a kind of dishonesty, even though it's simply survival. And why does this burn you out? Here is what chronic hidden financial stress does. It keeps your threat response activated. So your nervous system reads financial insecurity in the same way it reads physical danger, which means your cortisol is elevated. Your sleep is disrupted. Your capacity for creativity and connection, strategic thinking is all reduced. You are trying to lead, to deliver, to show up fully with a nervous system that is running a background survival program every single hour of every single day. And the silence makes it even worse, because unspoken stress has nowhere to go. It just accumulates. Burnout in this context is not a failure of resilience. It is the entirely predictable outcome of carrying too much in secret for too long. And where does reaping come in this situation? Well, let's look at P for planning. Let me first say something clearly here. I'm not here to tell you what to do with your money. What I'm here to say is this: the plan that will change your life is not a budget spreadsheet. It is the decision to stop carrying this alone. That might look like honest conversation with someone you trust, getting proper financial guidance for the first time. It might look like a boundary with a family member that has needed to be said for years. And it might look like simply naming it to yourself clearly without softening what is actually going on. Dorica did not fix her finances overnight, but she made one decision that changed everything. She stopped pretending, first to herself, then to one trusted person, that everything was fine. And from that moment of honesty, she began to have the cognitive space to actually plan. Because you cannot think your way out of a crisis that you are too exhausted to clearly see. but you can create the conditions in which clarity becomes possible. And this is what planning means. Not a perfect solution, but an honest first step. We are almost at the end of this series, and what I hope you're seeing across every single episode is that burnout is never just about workload. It is about that unacknowledged load, the things you are carrying that nobody has named, nobody has credited, and nobody has helped you put down. So here's what I want you to do. Take the Busy Woman quiz. It is on my website and many of you know about it already. It takes less than 3 minutes to complete, and it gives you a personalized, honest picture of where your load is actually coming from. And because you cannot address what you haven't clearly named, and you deserve to see for yourself clearly. The link is in the description. Take it honestly, without editing yourself and without minimizing anything. Just be honest. And when the results arrive, if you read them and something in you says, enough, I need to do this differently, then book a life audit with me. We have entered Q2 of the year, a new season, a genuine opportunity to reset. The life audit is a private focus session, just you and me, and we look at everything you are carrying and we name it honestly, and we build the beginning of a plan that's designed for your actual life, not a theoretical one. So both links are in the description. I would love to work with you this quarter. So next week is our final episode in this series. We are bringing everything together, all 7 hidden sources of burnout, into one integration episode. Why burnout is a signal and not a failure, and what the Reap and Rise framework makes possible when you finally have the full picture of what you've been carrying. And you do not want to miss this episode. Subscribe if you haven't already. I'm Dr. Catherine Muyeba. What you are carrying is real, and you were never meant to carry it alone. So I'll see you next week.